For this project, I started out with putting my pieces of wood through my thickness planer. I took 6 boards, clamped them together, and put them through the planer, alternating the sides back and forth. Careful so the clamp doesn't get snagged at anything. I planed the edges first. Once I was satisfied with the edges, I took the clamp off and put them through on their sides and made sure the thickness was equal on all the boards, all the sides. I flipped the boards back and forth as to achieve a nice and smooth finish on all sides of all boards. Once I was happy with the thickness, I went and got my saw out and cut the boards to equal length. The size of this wall clock will be 12 inches long, 14 inches wide, and around half an inch thick. Once I had the dimensions of my choice, I clamped the 3 boards together and found the center of the clock so I can drill a hole right through it, as that is where the module of that clock will come through. I didn't glue them at this time. This is going to happen a bit later on. Once the center was found, I took the middle board and clamped it down on top of another piece of wood. I do that to prevent tear out on the other side when the drill bit comes through. After that, I took a 3/8 bit and drilled right through the board. Here you can see what it looks like. I then took the module, placed it on the back of the board and traced around it so I can router it out. The module will sit about a 1/4 inch in the wood once it's complete. Once I had it traced out, I took my handheld router and routed out the bit of wood where the module will sit in. Initially, I set my router to a shallow depth and gradually worked my way deeper and deeper. It took me about 3 runs to get to the appropriate depth, but I got a nice and snug fit in the end, so it was all worth it. This is a loud and noisy job, so as always, wear your safety gear. Here you can see what it looks like once it's complete. I took a piece of 1x4 and cut off 2 pieces that were roughly a 1/4 inch shorter than the width of the clock. They will be screwed onto the back once the clock pieces are glued together. Those 2 pieces of wood add extra strength and can be used to hang the clock once it's finished. Next, I went ahead and finally glued the 3 pieces of wood together. Once they were glued together, I then clamped them and made sure that they were squared nicely. Once I had them secured with a clamp, I went ahead and I mounted the 2 pieces of 1x4 on the back and fastened them with a couple of screws. You will have glue squeezed out when you clamp the wood together, so I would suggest that after everything is in place and screwed, wipe off and clean up all excess glue. It's much easier to clean when it's still wet versus when it's hard and dry. Once I had all the glue cleaned up, I took the 3/8 bit that I drilled the middle with, attached one piece of wire to it and the other end to a pencil, and drew a circle so I can figure out where my copper fittings will go. After I had completed drawing my circle, I then dry fitted my 1/2 inch copper end caps onto the clock, just to make sure that everything will look nice and round. I also measured in between every cap to make sure that there's equal distance. Once I had them all placed, I then traced them out and I started to drill them out carefully. I started first with the 3, the 6, the 9 and the 12 and put them in place, and then did the rest of them just to make sure that everything seemed good. Here is the clock. This is what it looks like now at this stage. After I had the copper end caps drilled and fitted into place, I started the sanding process. Initially I tried sanding with the caps intact, but chose to take them out after a while as it was much easier to sand without them in place. I hit it with an 80 grit sandpaper, then 120, and ended with 320. After I completed sanding it down, I hit it with one coat of stain. I use weather gray stain, as that's my all-time favorite. I wiped it all down and got it ready for assembly. Here is what it looks like right before I assembled it. After I let it sit and dry for a couple of hours, I then popped the copper end caps back in place. I then placed the module in place, screwed a small nut on it, and made sure that it was nice and snug. Finally, I took the hands or the dials and I put them in place. This is my rustic wooden clock. Thanks for watching. If you find this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. Anyone attempting to make this, I would love to see and hear on how it turned out. Bye for now.